So now let's move on to a Q&A from you, the viewers. And our first question, actually a response comes in from David Lewis, and this was in regards to my talk about subscription services last week. He doesn't think everyone is floating around on a pile of money like Scrooge McDuck. I do agree with him on that. Not everybody can afford to buy every video service. The world doesn't operate like that. And we're seeing a major transition now for the motion picture industry, primarily television, away from free ad-supported network TV shows to things that are being made available by subscription with a direct relationship with the studio producing them. This is a very different model than has ever existed, but I think it has some advantages. First of all, we have to all acknowledge that content has never been free. Those network TV shows cost money to make. They need to get a certain amount of viewership on them to have enough value to sell that viewership to advertisers. And that is how the industry worked. But remember, back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, you would get tens of millions of viewers on a single network TV show. Those numbers have been cut dramatically as our choices have expanded. And with these subscription services, it's further eating into the free advertising model. So these audiences are smaller per piece of content, and they had to figure out a different way to make that work. And that, of course, is direct-to-consumer subscriptions. The benefits, though, are many. They have bigger budgets for the productions. The new Star Wars show, for example, has the budget of a motion picture, about $120 million for one season. That's pretty remarkable for a TV show, right? There's less risk for these studios because they can amortize the cost of these productions over time based on expected subscriber revenue. They don't have to rely on the ratings in one season being good enough to go to season 2. They know what it's going to cost. They know they can afford to do it, and they can afford to invest a season or two in a show if it means a future return, perhaps when that show hits season 3. There's been a lot of talk that Breaking Bad never would have become the show that it did had the first couple of seasons not appeared on Netflix and got people into it. So there's some argument here that that risk, or lack thereof, or less risk, I should say. No, there's no lack of risk, but the less risk means that we'll see more experimentation. We are certainly seeing a lot more niche genre content. The Star Trek example is a great one. We're getting a Star Wars TV show. All sorts of things that probably never would have worked on network TV are working here. CBS even put Star Trek Discovery up on broadcast for 1 week just to see how it did. I don't think it did all that well as a broadcast show, but it's certainly done well for them on the subscription side. And I think this, on subscriptions, we finally get the a la carte selection that we've wanted for many, many years out of the cable company. I pay $50 a month for the TV side of my cable television, and I'm paying mostly for things I don't watch, like ESPN, for example. I don't like sports all that much. I don't watch that much sports content. I certainly don't watch the 4 ESPN channels that I get, but I have to pay for it. Under this new subscription model, that is no longer the case. I pay for the networks that I want, and I can stop watching them anytime I want. So for example, with Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard, when those shows are off CBS All Access, I can halt my subscription until they pop back on again. I have that choice, which I don't have currently with my cable subscription. Here's some examples of where spending on the studio sides are going. Netflix has spent, if you look here on their in-production costs, in 2018, they spent $3.3 billion on new content. They borrowed a lot of that money, but again, they're amortizing that over the course of their subscriber revenue here. So they're able to really push out a lot of high quality stuff. And I gotta say, that season 3 of Stranger Things renewed my love for Netflix. I think it's been a great season. I'm about halfway through. High quality stuff. Worth my subscription dollars, perhaps. Netflix is getting a little bit more expensive than I would like, but this is where that money is going. They're putting a lot of it into custom content. They also spent $14 billion last year on licensing other people's content, but they're going to be having a harder and harder time securing those rights as those studios go direct to consumer. Amazon spent $7 billion on video and music content. They did $1.7 billion on video and music in the first quarter alone. So they are spending a lot too, producing some great stuff over on Amazon. And here's a story on the Star Wars show where it's revealed that each episode was about $15 million for a total of at least $120 million. And they're spending that on us. We're going to get some great content out of these studio buys, which I don't think traditional networks would have taken the risk with, especially if they weren't sure what the audience levels would be. Now, insofar as cost and affordability, I did decide to take a look at my personal household budget on music and TV content, and I'm including my internet cost with that. So right now I'm spending $81.95 on the internet portion of my Comcast account. I'm spending so much because I have their Blast service that delivers faster downstream speeds, so I get about 300 megabits down and a paltry 10 megabits up. It stinks and I can't get any faster than that, but that is what I am paying for my internet connection, which I need for all the stuff that we're constantly firing back and forth on the internet. And then I've got a package for TV. It's like their digital basic with HBO, and I'm spending $49 for that portion of my cable TV. Now, the reason why my TV portion is so low is because I've got that HD home run in the closet, and I got rid of all of the Comcast subscription hardware here at the house. I have no Comcast boxes, nothing. So I don't pay anything beyond just the TV shows that I'm watching. And I suspect if you looked at your budget and if you have those boxes around your house, you're going to save a lot of money by dropping Comcast and going to a YouTube TV or a Hulu TV, because oftentimes about $30 a month or more is tied up in hardware rental fees. And that's how they make all their money on TV, by the way. I've got YouTube Premium, which I'm still paying $10 for. That's gone up to $12.99, I believe. But I am a grandfathered YouTube Red subscriber. And I get, of course, my YouTube ad-free. I get some of the premium shows like the Karate Kid Cobra Kai thing. And I get YouTube Music, which is essentially a music subscription service, all as part of that deal. So that was pretty good. My Netflix subscription is pricey at $16 a month for the 4K HDR version. I'm paying 99 cents a month for Hulu right now. They had a Black Friday special. I haven't really watched all that much Hulu, so I got to figure out if I'm going to keep that when that subscription period ends, but $1 a month isn't bad there. And then I've got an Apple Music family account, which is $14.99 a month. I'll get to that in a minute. And I also put Amazon Prime in here because I am using my Prime account for other things, but I'm also watching the TV shows on there. My kids really like the kids show selection that they have on Amazon Prime. And I think my household budget here is probably not all that different than other household budgets that are currently paying for cable and a subscription fee or two. I am certainly aware that people often cannot afford any of these things, but I would say that for a lot of folks who have a cable TV subscription, this is probably close to about what they're paying monthly for their entertainment budget or more. I know people that are paying more for exactly the same thing I have because they have all the cable boxes. Now, what I started looking at was, could I reduce my cost by stripping out the Comcast TV portion of my entertainment budget here? And I found that I really couldn't. I went out and started pricing things out with YouTube TV and with Hulu, and I'd be losing HBO and getting back some of the same channels I already have. So I'm actually getting a good amount of cable channels plus HBO for what I would pay for a YouTube TV or a Hulu without HBO. And having the local channels in my area are very important to me because I can't pick them up over the air. So I think I'm going to be able to add Disney Plus and do a partial year subscription to CBS All Access when the Star Trek shows are on for pretty much the same budget I have now by removing the Apple Music family subscription that was made unnecessary by the YouTube Premium subscription. And I think every household has to kind of go through this budget on their own to figure out what works best. I also noticed that if I decided to drop the TV portion of my Comcast, my internet charges go from $81 to I think $96 a month, a significant increase because they dropped this bundle discount, if you will. So that was even another reason to stick with Comcast because I have no other choice for internet right now but them. So it's just one of those things where I'm kind of trapped with them for a little bit longer. But I think I can make all of this work. And I would love to hear in my Q&A for you this week about your budget for this stuff, because you know what? We don't have to pay for these services. We don't have to pay for entertainment if we don't want to, but we do because we like some of the shows that are on. I would love to know what you're budgeting and how you're looking at maybe changing your consumer habits based on the cost of these things so that you can accommodate the things that you want and get rid of the things that you're not using. Let me know down in the comments below.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold-level supporters, the 4 Guys with Quarters podcast, emudev.org, Tom Albrecht, Brian Parker. And Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/s.